am super excited to get through this topic today. It is our last webinar of 2025. Not sure how we got here, but we are here. So figured we end the year off with a topic that has been top of every marketer's inbox, queries on their own ChatGPTs and their Google searches. It is around how AI is changing local search marketing in 2026. Looks like we got a good chunk of people who are already joining, and we are a minute past the hour. So I'm going to go ahead and get started. So we'll kick it off. I think the biggest way that we want to frame this webinar today, it is not about chasing the latest AI trick or prompt. We really want to help marketers understand what's actually changed in search, what stayed the same, and what brands should really be focusing on as they are entering into 2026. So we are super excited to get into this topic today, and we will go ahead and kick off with our first slide. And I believe it's just a little bit about Netsertive in case you are unfamiliar with us. Netsertive is a digital marketing partner really built for franchise and multi-location brands. We help national networks win locally in communities by combining data, automation, and hands-on expertise from our award-winning customer experience teams. Our platform really works to connect corporate marketing strategies at the HQ level with local execution to help drive stronger visibility, better leads, and measurable ROI for every location. And a big part of our brand strategy as we have entered into 2025 and are going in 2026 is working with our customers to help them better understand the intricacies of how AI has changed the search game, and also how we can help them to elevate their brand presence so that they are still showing up top of rankings and still gaining customers through every possible digital media channel. So starting off today with our agenda, just giving you a rundown of what we're going to be discussing. First off, reviewing what's really changed in search, but also the things that have stayed the same so that we don't feel like the entire rug has been lifted from underneath us. We also want to look at two key priorities. So the first being content, and the second being some technical foundations of your owned media, like your website, that really help to prioritize that AI optimization to help you be really strong online when you're looking at AEO and GEO, but not forgetting the SEO or search engine optimization part that many of our brands were built upon. And so how do we combine all of these strategies, make sense of all the acronyms, and ensure that we have a really strong strategy going into the new year? And then lastly, to recap it, what you should and shouldn't do. So if you fall asleep in the next 30 minutes, but then wake back up right before we end, you will get a really tactical list of things to prioritize and things that you should avoid to make sure that you are set up for success with your AI strategy in that new year, and you're really able to gain traction going into 2026. And then on our next slide, I believe we're going to be focusing on a little bit of a recap of the way people search. It really has changed. And I think everyone on this webinar today understands this to a certain extent because you're here trying to learn what's changed and how am I going to be able to adjust my brand to ensure that we are still very strong online digitally. So people are not just Googling short keywords anymore. They are asking AI tools full questions and expecting direct answers, and a lot of times having conversations with those AI tools on helping them solve a pain point and find a solution that fits into their lifestyle. So this really means that your website and your local presence need to deliver clarity fast and not just rank like we have really been accustomed to when looking at how to optimize for SEO. So keywords are a thing not of the past, but one aspect now of becoming really visible online. And we have to look beyond keywords to understand, is our brand meeting the solutions that our customer is looking for? And is the content that we're putting out on the web really helping us to optimize to be found first by either a local search on Google or Bing, or also on some of those SEO and AI platforms? So our recipe for success really comes down to three main ingredients. It's going to be content optimization, a website experience that actually converts visitors, and then also the agility to be able to stay on top of the things that are constantly changing. AI search is something that has come up for the last couple of years, but is continuing to grow. And as it grows, you're going to see things continue to change. And so being agile to be able to change your strategy and adjust as it needs be is going to help you continue to grow as well. So with that, some AI search stats. I know Jason, you wanted to kind of dive into this a little bit so we can understand really the magnitude of what AI search has done in
Mhm.
the industry.
Yeah, I mean, AI search is growing incredibly quickly, and really people are finding new ways to incorporate search into their daily lives, incorporate, partnering with chat GPT or whatever, Claude, and they're just talking to it all day. Right. So it's not just searching, it's really their life and the way that they think. I saw a stat that like a third of teenagers are spending hours a day searching or something like
Probably, yeah.
on or no, they're using, ChatGPT daily a certain amount of times. I mean, it's just it's wild how much it's really sort of merging with the way that we think. But there's still it's about information discovery, and the context here being you have local location-based businesses, and how are you building trust and building local audiences and finding people when they're looking for you, right? And so it's really fascinating, and I would encourage everyone to look at your own traffic stats so you can see AI referral traffic, especially if you have HubSpot. HubSpot makes it really easy. Depending on your analytics tool, you can see traffic coming in from these AI referral sources, and how is that traffic behaving? How has it been growing? Most accounts I've seen, it's, obviously because it started from nothing, right? Over the past couple of years, you could see it growing tremendously. And then oftentimes it converts better on lead forms, but then how does it perform once it enters your funnel, right? It's still kind of about the customer journey. But overall, there's a lot of engagement, which I think is why everyone, Google even is embracing it with AI mode and AI overviews, because if you get into this conversational type mode, then you're learning and it becomes this exploration, and the sessions last a lot longer. Like AI mode sessions last 4 minutes and 37 seconds, which is significantly longer than a standard search. And same thing, that search queries average 23 words versus 4 in classic search. So there's a lot more exploration going on. And AI overviews are reaching 2 billion monthly users worldwide, right? AI overviews on Google. So there's so much that is changing. And why do we need change, Gabby?
I mean, I think some of these stats on here, they're a little scary for marketers in the sense that organic click-through rates dropping by 18 to 40% for many websites over the last year. I think it's something crazy like in 2026, they're expected to drop another 25%. But when you think about how you're Googling things as a user, right? It's so easy for marketers to think of themselves in the sense of like, okay, I optimize my Google ads for this and I optimize my meta ads for this. But then when I take myself out of that marketer hat and put on a consumer hat, this feels right, right? Like I'm Googling something and usually I would have seen an ad first and then some organic results. Now I'm seeing an AI overview and then I'm seeing ads and then I'm seeing results. And a lot of times that AI overview is giving me an exact answer to what I need and citing its sources and doing all of that and then encouraging me of what I should be searching next because of the last query that I made. So it makes sense that websites aren't seeing the same click-through rates that they've seen previously. That is a hard truth, though, for marketers because it means that the way that we optimize our content has to be different. And so the fact that I think the last stat too is crazy. Gen Z completes 31 of their searches on AI platforms. They're completely disregarding the Googles and the Bings of the world that a lot of the previous generations really focused on. And now they're looking at a completely different platform. So we're missing that audience completely, which a lot of brands, that's their new audience that they're trying to target and figure out the complexities of Gen Z, right? And so when we're thinking about how they're searching, in order to capture this new audience, we need to look at a whole different platform to capture them on, whereas previously we've been able to really focus on Google and Bing. So there's a lot of changes that need to take place, but I think a lot of it, when you see these stats, it's the fact that we have optimized and had KPIs towards click-through rate and website traffic for so long. And ultimately now that's not going to be a KPI that's going to actually be able to tell you success. And I think that's something that is a little scary for marketers at first, But when you get over the scared and you get into, okay, well, what am I actually doing? There is a bright side from all of it. And the bright side is that the way that you can optimize, and Jason, if you don't mind, click on the next slide for me. Brands that are optimizing for AI did see a 25% lift in visibility over the last year. So the brands that are taking the time to change their content and their technical strategy on their website, they are seeing that lift. So it's not like everyone is just doomed to not have clicks anymore and not be able to see people on their own media channels. But really, the brands are taking the time to see how these AI channels and platforms are scrubbing their data and taking that and putting it into the own AI platform in, that true sense. Those are the brands that are still seeing the lift and seeing more citations in those AI reviews and overviews that they're seeing on Google. So local businesses also have a huge opportunity here because they may show up more because they have both the long form queries of questions and wanting things that are locally owned and operated, but also a lot of times those local businesses have a lot of trust and reputation management that is positive, that's built online, that is going to help continue to lift you up in those search queries and the results that AI is generating. So not all is lost. It's just really taking the data that we currently have and shifting strategy to make sure it makes sense for how these platforms are sucking in all of our data on our websites and putting it back out to the world in a way that makes, tangible sense to the consumer.
That's great.
And so we're looking at, really entering into how to optimize for this. We want to think about it, before AI search and after AI search. And I think something really important here is when we're looking at before AI search, people are, searching to solve real problems. They're not just typing keywords. Brands that win give clear and specific answers. Trust is driving decisions, and reputation and reviews are still super important. And relevance is mattering. So you have to know your consumer and meet them at the right stage in the sales funnel. So, this is all before AI search. Luckily, though, after AI search, a lot of these things are still the same. So people are still searching to solve real problems. And more than ever, they're not just typing keywords looking for the result that gives them the best match. They are looking for brands who specifically tell them, here is your problem, and here is how my brand has a product or service that fixes that and is a solution to it. And they want specific answers. They don't want to be more confused after reading through your entire website of what you do and how you're going to help them. And I think more than ever, if I build on top of that, right? Trust is still driving decisions. So your reviews and reputation, things that were super important for SEO as well, those things are still as important, if not more important now for AI, because AI wants to recommend trusted resources so that consumers continue to trust them as well. So relevance still matters. A lot of these key core things that we as marketers have learned about SEO and the ways that we need to show up online, they still apply in AI. It's just about structuring the content and the technical part of your website to make sure that AI understands how you're accomplishing these goals.
That's awesome. I think it would be helpful as a next step to really look at what it is that we're talking about when
Yeah.
we talk about AI search, right? Like just to give context for people. And I hopefully this next few minutes here will actually accomplish the buzzword of demystifying AI search for people because it actually is understandable. And we can look at ChatGPT, Perplexity, Google, and just as three of the main ones. And Gemini obviously leverages a lot of Google, but we'll see by diving into these different channels how they're using data to create answers for people. And then there's a very cool trick that you can do, or we can even do together to see behind the scenes into the code of ChatGPT to see when ChatGPT searches the internet, what exactly is it searching for? So if you look at these different dimensions, okay, looking at ChatGPT, you all know what ChatGPT is, right? So what are the best garage coding types? So uh, by default, it is going to use its training data for general knowledge, reasoning, writing, framework, stable concepts, right? Like this search did not trigger a web search. right? It uses live search only when it's, current, time sensitive, verifiable facts are required or when it's explicitly asked, right? So this would be, based in Raleigh, North Carolina. So top garage coding companies in Raleigh, and you can see all of these links or citations that are linking to the top companies in Raleigh. And it is the search engine or data source is basically it's a proprietary blend, if you will. So it has licensed search providers, large web indexes. Often it does use Microsoft data, but it's not just searching Bing or searching Google, right? It has its own indexing and algorithms and everything that it is using to deliver those web results. Primary goal is thinking, synthesis, creation, problem solving. A lot of people use it for writing emails. I think it's like links are shown only when web search is used, obviously. So like this one does not have it. This does. And then it's really about what's the prompt? Like how clear is the prompt? Is it obvious what the person is asking for? The context, conceptual coherence, like how much are they actually able to mm, deliver the answer based on what the training data has versus what the query is. And I'll actually go here when you look at the query for the website. This is a cool trick that we'll send some instructions on how to do this. And if anyone wants me to do it for their brand, you could pop it into the Q&A as well right now. You can actually look behind the scenes in the code. You can go in, you copy this, you view the source code, you go into network settings, and then you can actually dig in here on the responses and you can see how did ChatGPT actually search the web, right? Because I said top garage coding companies Raleigh. So they actually said top garage coding companies Raleigh and C, right? So it added that context of location. And then it also searched best garage floor coating services in Raleigh, North Carolina, garage epoxy flooring, which is interesting, right? As far as a category search goes, there's different types of coating, and it's saying, okay, garage epoxy as a default, garage floor coating, Raleigh, North Carolina. So it's taking a different, you know, samples of these different queries basically, and then it uses the AI LLM large language model to make sense of it all and service the best of what it deems the best. But it's really interesting though to be able to see behind the scenes and you'll see for things like if let's say you have a fitness franchise, for example, you'll see like if I ask a question, is this brand of fitness franchise clean? Then and it will do the queries. When we look at the queries, it actually is showing that it searched for reviews, for cleanliness in reviews. It searches for COVID protocols, right? It searches for these like on your digital footprint, what does it say about cleanliness? And then how does it actually tie back to the answer? And so it's actually, this is where I think we can demystify a bit on how do you show up in ChatGPT? It's like, well, maybe it's not the exact same as a Google search when you're looking at keywords, right? But we can actually see for depending on what the query is, you can see what the ChatGPT is actually going out and searching for. And so if you were that fitness franchise, you would think, okay, what are the main pillars of trust in the customer journey, right? Like, is it clean? What's the pricing? Do they have any deals going on? Or what's the class schedule? All these things, right? And so you'd want to do this kind of a content strategy where you're seeing, okay, do we have reviews that mention cleanliness? Do we have COVID protocol content at the local level? Do we have COVID protocol content in our Google, business profile? right? So that's where you can just go through your customer journey and we can unpack exactly it- what your content strategy should be, right? And it really pulls back the curtain a bit on how all of this is working. And when you hear people say things like, well, reviews matter, and this is why they matter. Because it's literally just as simple as behind the scenes, it's going out and querying reviews. The same thing on AI overviews, right? Like it's surfacing insights from reviews and you can just see it straight up. So definitely happy to dig into that and show you how to do that for your brand and help, stitch together a content strategy that's related. For Perplexity, it's really minimal use of training data, more so to put context around the links. It's really an AI powered search engine using Bing. It's basically always using live web search. You can have it do copywriting and things as well if you explicitly ask it to do that. It's primarily Bing. It's for research, fact finding, citations. Links are really central to the experience, and then it's really like the source relevance, recency, authority. So a lot of the same signals that matter for SEO matter for Perplexity. I like Perplexity a lot. I feel like I do a lot of comparison research on Perplexity, where it's like you want to compare tools or find solutions to something. When you look at Google, right, you've got Google for AI overviews and traditional search. Um, AI overviews are really used to generate summaries. And I'm sure you've all seen your AI overviews. And, there's a lot going on Google search results these days. Uh, like a search engine results page has so many different elements, right? There's 40 different types of content that could be surfaced. And so if you say, what are the best garage coding types? I mean, you can see where this is just a kind of a simple paragraph, but Google really goes in and, provides some AI overview with links. And then you can dive deeper in AI mode. And then that's where, we mentioned these sessions lasting 4 minutes because you really start diving into the data, right? But when you think about if you just search for local businesses, oftentimes local near me searches do not actually surface AI overviews, which is interesting. You have to think of where do they fit into the customer journey for you, and when they're doing research, there's different types of garage coding, for example, and so if you have competitive products, how are you creating content so that when people are comparing, right, different solutions to something, then you're going to be surfaced in these different kinds of comparisons. Um, it's definitely Google AI reviews really rely on Google, obviously the knowledge graph, a lot of that same structured data and SEO signals, authority, and a lot of that's the same for traditional search. So whether or not you're searching on Bing or Google, it's really that kind of traditional understanding of relevance, authority, schema. And that's why I think when you say the traditional SEO also helps the, GEO or AEO or whatever AI search, it's because you're putting your content out there. You're citing it on authoritative sites. You're being consistent, right? You're having authority and freshness and relevance. And that really helps across all of these different, search engines or AI engines or AI, whatever your acronym of choice is. And so I think we have a tool actually at Netsertive, which we're also happy to run your brand through, which we're actually able to see the different AI recommendations based on different citations and prompts. So if this will actually show how your brand is showing up in AI overviews and if they're showing up for informational, commercial, navigational, transactional queries and kind of what the sentiment analysis is, what links are cited, And this is where we can really kind of dig in and work on a detailed content strategy around AI overviews to help you, get more citations and links in those AI overviews because, like we said, they're being shown like 2 billion times a month, right? So I think this overall view, hopefully, I know there's a lot of information, but when someone brings up AI search or, no one's using traditional search anymore. That's not true. Like everyone's just using ChatGPT. Well, that's not true, right? Because you have to just really separate them out into ChatGPT training data, the, web queries, and then what search engine is being used. Is it OpenAI, ChatGPT's proprietary blend? Is it Perplexity with Bing? Is it Google? And then how do you go about doing that? It's usually reviews, it's local information, it's trust building content. And so you're able to kind of take some of these broad, unhelpful, larger statements and really distill it down into a plan that makes someone say, oh, okay, we can do that. Right. And we can be consistent with how we talk about our brand everywhere. We can do all these things. And so we'll get into some of the specifics here and now. So as I mentioned, happy to jump into either the behind the scenes prompt with you or this AI um, answer engine optimization for AI overviews. I think if you look at how to win in search, this focus on content is still king. And Gabby, I know you're going to jump into this.
Yeah, 100%. And just highlighting on what Jason just mentioned for that AEO overview and kind of assessment of where you're at. I think that's like the first 50%, right, of demystifying all of this because a lot of the things we're talking about and the strategies that we'll mention in the upcoming slides, they're things that if I have to be honest with like marketing and where it's at, it's things that marketers have always known are important, but potentially got put on the back burner when they're looking at doing other things or other strategies. And so now I think if anything, the move towards the AI platforms and the search queries that are coming from that, it's going to really put a focus back on having that local trust established and then also ensuring that your content as a brand is really well defined and content is still king. I don't know when content will not be king. I'm hoping it's never because content is something that you can really control as a brand and it is really how you are solving your customer's pain point, which at the end of the day is their main priority when they are looking online, whether it's Google or Bing, whether it's on an AI platform. So I think that big misconception that AI has changed this is really false because I think what we're looking at now is your content has to be better. And by better, it needs to say things more clearly and has to be very specific and factual. So I think as marketers, we can a lot of times love to, be savvy with our copywriting and tell stories and be very creative. AI loves to be able to scan something and fully understand it without all the nuance added to it. And so I think the best content is specific, factual, and useful. And we take some of the fluff, maybe that I know I'm very, very guilty of writing marketing content sometimes and wanting to have that fluff in there. But the one piece of content that tells AI exactly who we are, what we do, and how we do it, that is what's going to be showing up more often in these AI platform queries that come up as well. So I think when we're looking at the brands that we work with now at Netsertive, we consistently see that the brands that are clear and specific outperform those brands that are trying to be clever because AI is going to reward clarity, not creativity always. So doesn't mean there's no room for creativity or brand voice, but it does mean that we also have to have content structured on our site in a way that is very easily scannable and understandable. AI will appreciate that, and I also think our customers will appreciate that, even if it feels less on brand. We wanna make sure that it's structured in a way that is very easy to understand so that we take away all of the extra friction involved in it. And I also think AI can really help guide our content, and this is where AI becomes more of that strategic advantage rather than something that we're having to figure out and create strategies for. So instead of guessing what content to write, we can kind of see exactly where AI is already pulling competitors into answers and then where your brand is missing. So Jason just showed a couple of great examples. If you're searching for, garage flooring in Raleigh, North Carolina, and you see that there's 3 competitors showing up for 3 different areas and you're not showing up there and that's your brand, those are pieces of content or ideas for content that you need to make sure are really well established on your website so that you begin also showing up for those things because you have reputable content that is understood by AI and helping your customers to be able to achieve that goal. So you're able to kind of do that reverse research in a way of just as a consumer shopping your own brand online, seeing what content you have that's helping you pop up in certain queries and maybe what content you're lacking because competitors are winning against you and then really building your content strategy around that. So AI already knows your brand for certain regards. You want to make sure that AI knows your brand for all of your core services and knows your brand for those core services and has reputation behind it to show that you are a reputable brand that has trust in the community to be able to solve those customer pain points. So I think this is where we start using AI as a tool rather than being a little bit, scared of it and not totally sure what's happening because we have the ability to do full research on the back end to see where the brand's showing up and what's going. So I think the shift here really comes from being a volume game to being a prioritization game of what content is going to move the needle the most to show me in searches for products that I know I want to be serving or services that I know I want to be showing off for. So really shifting your strategy of how can I get the most content out there to what content is going to make the biggest dents in the strategy itself. And then I think also when we're looking at AI guiding content, brand visibility is a huge part of that, which Jason, I want to toss it over to you because I think this also kind of goes into that brand assessment that we just talked about.
Yeah, for sure. I think those strategic opportunities, when you think about brand visibility, it really come in the competitive set, right? It's like I think people are used to looking at who else is searching for certain keywords, how am I showing up, who else is bidding on keywords that I am or on my brand. And I think really diving in and some other assessment tools we have where it's just looking at how often is your brand mentioned in, you know, AI outputs, right, compared to competitors. And so that's another thing we do is just having that baseline and like what are the topics and AI volume where competitors are appearing more than you, and looking at your top performing topics where AI already knows your brand, can we double down on that? Can we really stake a claim there and ensure that you continue to be king of that hill, so to say? Mm. In looking at brand sentiment, it's kind of the same thing where we can look at on uh, AI answer engines, how is your brand viewed? Is it favorable? Is it unfavorable? We can actually review how these different tools like ChatGPT are talking about your brand and competitors. And I think those sentiment trends can really help prioritize the content roadmap instead of guessing what to write about. If you're very neutral or unfavorable about a certain topic, like I think the perfect example is cleanliness. If someone searches is X brand clean or X, is X company dirty, right? And there's so much content around that. How can you introduce content that counteracts that, right?
Y-
Do you need to have a real clear, like, art, interview or PR push or something where an executive is talking about the new products and the process that you changed so that the most relevant story is about like how you introduced this new UV light cleaning technology and it became the cleanest gym that there is or something, right? Because people will understand the narrative. Everyone has their own way of sniffing around reviews, right? And so I think it's kind of going after those stories of what is your brand sentiment and how can you counteract it or double down on it. Also looking at user research, I mean, we can review what users are asking AI, and I think that is helpful in the same way that reviewing search queries is helpful. It's just to guide the kind of content to create and how to structure it. So I think a big one you've heard probably is Q&A, and that really is helpful. And having the FAQ where it's just cleanly surfacing, here is common questions and the clearest answer that you can provide. It really just it builds a strong brand foundation for SEO and AEO. And then similar for competitive positioning, I think just reviewing how AI talks about us versus competitors, ensuring that we prioritize these key services and areas for growth, and just looking at where are the openings and the opportunities. If we're seeing not a lot of traction for some of these key searches that are, on the web, if we're not seeing competitors, how can we jump in there and prioritize that? So, in this example, maybe we double down on safety content for this brand that we're looking at and then invest in other areas like convenience. So it's really about understanding how people are searching, how your brand is showing up, how competitors are showing up, and then where the biggest opportunities are. Because you can't do everything. You really can't boil the ocean. You have to decide where are you going to own, where are you going to defend, and where are you just going to basically sacrifice, right? Because you can't possibly cover every single topic exhaustively, and every single topic does not actually equally weight the customer journey, right? It doesn't equally weight in how someone decides, how, who to go with, so to say. So I think technical foundations are another just really important part of this. And we've talked some about the how these searches work and really looking at the infrastructure layer under everything, right? So it's your site, your location pages, your profiles. How is all of this technically set up? And this is where you can have a lot of quick wins if your brand is just not, you know, sound technically. And that happens for sure. And or to just, what you're supposed to do, but you haven't done it yet, or you know what you're supposed to do, but there was a big change in context in your network, and you know you haven't gotten around to it or something. Then I think just accomplishing some of those core foundational layers, it's like it's all about, just like we've talked about with SEO for years. It's really about making your brand scannable to the right kind of bots, right? It's making your content scannable to both traditional search engines and to the way that these AI tools are going out and searching the web. So it's schema, right? Which schema is that essentially code around information to tell it this is a local business. This is a review. This is a question and answer, right? So it's essentially pointing out, making it really easy, saying like, "Hey, over here, this is the like this is the latitude and longitude of a location," because it's just surfacing all of these things and making them really obvious. Mm, your site maps, so how all the pages are connected, the structured location data, all of this, these are just the foundations that it's just a great time to audit and take a step back and say, what have we been talking about for a long time and it keeps getting pushed off? Because I guarantee you there's some technical project on your plate that is not being tackled. And the best way to go through these things is just to make a backlog and chip away at it, right? Like chip away at crossing these things off your list. If you need to replatform your website, do that and then just chip away at it. And this is another key thing with this is very related to keeping information accurate and in sync too across your site, maps, major directories. Do you have a tool that sits underneath everything to make sure that you're auditing and being consistent across the board? Because that's just a key way to make sure that you're monitoring everything correctly. Because Google and Bing, I mean, all these search engines really put a focus on accurate business information and name, address, phone number consistency. And same thing with training data. Training data on LLMs just really happens when you have the same information that's put out there in the world in the same context. Because training data for large language models is not just a fact database, right? It's actually looking at the likelihood that the next word is, how these words exist in the world. What is statistically speaking in this context the next word likely to be? right? So it's really about consistently putting your brand out there and then having that training data intake happening so that it's, sucking up all the context. And then statistically speaking, you're going to have the large language model trained on your core brand fundamentals and data. And then it'll go out and search for the most relevant, information anyway. But I think it's really the way you put yourself out there consistently into the world is the way you train for those non-web searches. And also just the way that you tell Google and search engines, like, hey, this is the most quality, consistent information that gives people the best experience. And then for schema, it's really making your locations machine readable for Google and AI. Like I was saying with latitude and longitude, it's essentially saying, okay, this location page exists physically in the world, right? And this is where you find it. You find it literally this latitude and longitude with this address. And it's crazy. There's a lot of companies that do not have basic schema on their location pages. And so just this is really the checklist of things that you do to be able to jump in. I talked a bit about this, but this is just showing an example of it. So you can see on the right, it's the different labels for the data essentially that makes it more understandable. So what it is. So it's not just reading the front end of the website, it's reading the back end and saying, okay, this is the address, this is the phone number, et cetera, et cetera. And for AI, there's some unique kinds of schema that are especially um, relevant to AI that they like to see. And again, it goes back to some of those reviews and the things that we're seeing when something triggers a web search, right? What are they searching for? They're searching for reviews, they're searching for best of lists, they're searching for top rated lists. And some of those things are going to be found in reviews and in the kinds of, services and things that are offered. So that's another area that we explore. For internal linking as well, and this is similar to what we've talked about for SEO for years. It's just making related pages easier to find, right? And just making sure that every important page can be crawled, rendered, indexed, and then that there's a local discoverability where you can have this clear structure of the national brand, region, city, location paths, so that it's again, you're having a frictionless experience for both users and these bots. And when you have internal linking, right, then you're also passing authority from the strong pages that you're ranking for to locations. So if you have a really good epoxy coding page that's ranking nationally for its educational content, and then you can link that to the location page, right, that benefits the location page. But it's a matter of doing that intentionally, and that's the SEO strategy. So still for 2026, that's extremely important. And finally, I think the external links. So just having these quality links of online referrals. I mean, you hear about link building, digital PR, whatever you want to call it. It's really about authority flowing back through links, both internal and external. So, reputable sites link to you. They vouch for your expertise and reliability. And domain authority really lifts every location. So if you have a strong national brand authority, it makes it easier for individual location pages to rank and appear in AI answers. And the local links prove local relevance. So the location pages are so important. And they're going to perform even better when they're backed up by really authoritative national brand content. So I know this is a lot, but it's not a mystery though. It's like we've got a checklist of things to do. So what do you do now? Gabby, what do we do and what do we not do?
Yeah, so let's start with what not to do. If you are still here and thinking through AI and thinking through like, "Wait, how do I get this done as quickly as possible for as little budget as possible?" Here are the things to absolutely avoid that may feel like quick fixes in the moment, but ultimately aren't going to last as far as the way that AI is changing constantly. We don't want to chase the AI hacks. We don't want to flood our site with low quality AI based content. That ultimately is just going to flood and put a lot more out there, a lot more of that fluff that's not going to really dive down deep and help our customers find us easier or help AI be able to scan our content easier and then appear us as a reputable source on one of their platforms. So, keyword stuffing, it was always not a great thing to do. It's really not a great thing now. AI is great at ignoring keywords and the keyword stuffing like that. And so we just want to make sure that we're not trying to just put more out there in the world unless we're being really consistent and really strategic with what we're changing with our current content stack. So GBP, all those listings are still so important. The things that we want to be doing are really keeping key facts accurate everywhere. So some tactics are still king, like consistency of listing information and having that on your location pages, having it on your brand site. All of that is really going to ensure that AI sees you as a reputable business. We also want to think about the content we currently have on our site and is it really allowing a scannable nature of our website to turn that content into something that is going to show up on an AI platform really effectively. So, a great way to do this is, common parent questions into FAQs or diving into GBP and using their Q&A feature to showcase information that you want to be top of mind for your business. Whether that's cleanliness, whether that is, different services you offer or promotions you're going to be offering, utilizing those in-platform features that can really help, whether it's, Google AI and that piece or it's other AI platforms to be able to see your business as one coherent unit and be able to feature those things that are most important. Sharing real photos, short success stories, and building that local trust that is never going to go out of style. I'm calling it right now. I think we look at AI sometimes as like this new thing we have to learn and implement. After going through and doing a little bit more research on what it is and what we're trying to do, I really think the resurgence of how AI is changing search is just the goal is to make it easier for our customers to interact with our brand in a new way and on new platforms. And so making things more simple but clear for our customers so they understand who we are quicker. It's a challenge as marketers sometimes because we want to give them the entire ocean, like Jason said, but really boiling down so that we are the kings of our content and the kings of our own media and then growing it through there. Ultimately, the goal is to help our customers find us faster. And in that process, AI is finding us faster as well. So I think that is hopefully what you're gaining from this is looking at the structured content, looking at how your technical site is established. Those are two things to really start off this journey. And then from there, you're going to feel a lot more comfortable in interacting with those AI platforms and knowing where your brand stands and being able to optimize from there going into the new year.
Awesome. Well, very clear list of what you can do, what not to do. Like I had mentioned, we have this AI overviews audit that we can plug your brand into. So happy to hop on and walk you through what we're seeing there from an audit perspective.
Whether it's your first time listening or it is your 15th time listening, we planned on doing these also throughout 2026. And so if you have topic ideas, you know where to find us. Email Jason, email myself. We love being able to hopefully provide some value to you guys and have these conversations so that we can demystify all the scariness of marketing.